verse 27. The last time we met, we talked about Jesus had healed a young girl, and now as he went out from there, that's what the verse starts at. Two blind men, it says, followed him, crying out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he entered the house, the blind men came up to him, and Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "It shall be done to you according to your faith." And their eyes were opened. And Jesus sternly warned them, "See that no one knows about this." But they went out and spread the news about him throughout all that land. You know, Jesus does this on several occasions. You know, he heals someone of a illness or a disease of some kind, and tells them, "Don't tell anybody about it." That'd be pretty tough to do, wouldn't it? If you're blind or been paralyzed or you know, several different things, you know, and some things that there were no cure for. Some of those things are no cure from today. And somebody heals you, well, you're healed, but don't tell anybody. Well, that'd be pretty tough to do, wouldn't it? It would almost be self-explanatory to other people. If something's happened, you know, they want to ask questions. You know, yesterday you couldn't see, now you know, or yesterday you couldn't walk, and now you walk. How did this happen? Yet these two men, they're two blind men. He healed them and didn't tell. Don't go about telling nobody. As they were going out, a mute, demon-possessed man was brought to him. After the demon was cast out, the mute man spoke, and the crowds were amazed and were saying, "Nothing like this has ever been done in Israel." But the Pharisees were saying, "He cast out the demons by the ruler of the demons." Was that me?
No.
Gina, was you pointing at yourself, or that's pointing down the line? Okay, well now we know.
Sorry, I didn't know I had it with me.
One time we were sitting here in class, and I was reading on mine, the Bible. And and it had it on vibrate where it wouldn't, but then I actually touched something that made it talk to me because I couldn't, like you couldn't read it, you know. And I didn't know what I touched, and that thing was just blaring out real loud, you know, the verses we were reading. And I had handed it to Tyler, I think, here, figure out what I done, just get this thing turned off, you know. But don't feel bad. You're not the first one that your phones went off, and you probably won't be the last one either.
It was really loud.
But here the Pharisees tell him that said he cast out demons by the ruler of demons. Other writers said by Beelzebub, the prince of the demons. That was the name they had for Beth. And what does Jesus tell them in the other writings? If a nation is divided against itself, it cannot stand. And, you know, he couldn't be casting out demons by the power of the demons. They couldn't explain it any other way because they wouldn't accept him as the Messiah, so they had to try to explain it away in some way to make it look bad on him, because people were paying attention to Jesus and not to the established leaders of the Israeli congregation, Jewish congregation, maybe the best word to use. Then it says, Jesus was going through all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every kind of disease and every kind of sickness. Seeing the people, he felt compassion for them because they were distressed and dispirited like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Therefore beseech the Lord of the harvest to send out workers into his harvest. It says Jesus felt compassion on the people, so they were distressed and dispirited like sheep without a shepherd. Now, sheep, it seems they need a leader, don't they? You know, somebody's music box is getting pretty loud, I guess. You know, today, you know, most time, you know, a lot of people drive their cattle. You don't drive sheep, you lead sheep. Many of us lead them now with a feed truck, the cattle. Like I say, I never had very much experience with sheep. If they know who their leader is, if they know who the shepherd is. In fact, Jesus said that the sheep knows the shepherd's voice. They know who they're supposed to be following. Just like cattle know the sound of the feed truck. Or if you're a lot of people don't have a horn, they have a certain call that they call the cattle with. But they even know the sound of the feed truck or the sound of the tractor if you feed them with a tractor.
They even know the color.
Yeah, I think they even know colors. They say they don't, but I believe they do.
Well, you know, Fenton's have a white pickup truck, and Marla, when she drove up there with that white truck she's got,
Yeah.
hear the cows also.
Well, yeah.
They thought that there's a.
Maybe they're hungry. Yeah, but they know the sound of different tractors and vehicles. Yes, sir.
A lot of people used to use a goat to lead the sheep.
Okay, yeah.
Follow that goat.
And then I can remember a time where you see a lot of cows. The lead cow would have a belt and a bell around her neck, and wherever she went, that bell, the cattle would follow that bell. But but the cattle, they reckon. Scientists say they can't see colors, but I think they can see colors. Years and years ago, Kathy lived down the road from us, and both of us had me and her husband both had the same kind of pickup, and but it had, like you said, just a little bit different color. And when I drive down the road, my cows would all pay attention. When he drove down the road, his cows would pay attention. And they had to look a little bit different or sound a little bit different one, but they were both same brand even, just different colors. But the cattle knew which ones it was, which one we were. But like the sheep, people need someone to lead them. And, you know, and you can look at that. That's the way it's always been through history, and you find, well, why was they following that guy? You know, people are easily moved sometimes into following someone who is leading them down the wrong path. You know, I read today history deal in the paper. I think it's 1997. There was a group of people in California somewhere because someone convinced them because Halley's Comet was coming through, and a man who was eloquent in speech convinced them that to get to heaven you had to get on that comet, and so they all committed suicide so they get on, hoping that they would get on that comet and ride to heaven. But you know, when you study the Old Testament and the different kings that they had, and you'll find that when they had a good king, or a king that obeyed God, everybody followed him. And just as soon as another one was raised up that he was an evil king, everybody followed him. Whatever direction their leader went, that's the way they went. Simple as that. And that's the reason you have so many people who follow very strange, if you will, ideas as far as the scriptures are concerned. because they get somebody who can make it sound like it's all right, make it sound like it's good, and they don't take the time to research and see, is that really what God said, or is that, because it really sounds good. But many times it's completely opposite of what God wants us to do. You know, people wonder how the people in Germany followed Hitler, you know. But he was such a magnificent speaker, they said. And he kept them all wound up and convinced them that they was going to be great. And pretty soon they was doing things sanctioning things they knew was wrong, just to go along with the government. Chapter 10 says, Jesus sends out the 12 disciples. Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and heal every kind of disease and every kind of sickness. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these. The first, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, and James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out after instructing them, do not go in the way of the Gentiles, do not enter any city of the Samaritans, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and as you go preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. Freely you receive, freely give. Do not acquire gold or silver or copper for your money belts, or a bag for your journey, or even 2 coats or sandals, or a staff, for the worker is worthy of his sport. And whatever city or village you enter, inquire who is worthy in it, stay at his house until you leave that city. As you enter the house, give it your greeting. If the house is worthy, give it your blessing of peace, but if it is not worthy, take back your blessing of peace. Whoever does not receive you, nor heed your words, as you go out of that house or that city, shake the dust off your feet. Truly I say to you, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves. Okay, Jesus names the 12 apostles here. And he gives them charge of what they do and where to go. And it's amazing to me that we talk about Judas. Judas has given the gift of healing people, just like the rest of them. He was the gift. He said you can raise the dead, you can cast out demons, you can heal the sick. He got the gift just like the rest of them did. Yeah, we talked about it like a Sunday night about the love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money was what got him, because later on the writer says that he was the keeper of the bag, the treasurer, but he was a thief. He was hung up on getting more money. But he mentions that whoever does not receive you to when you leave that house or that city, what was they supposed to do? Shake the dust off their feet. It says it'll be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the last day of judgment than for that house or that city. Do we have any instances in the scriptures where they shook the dust off their feet? Yeah, there are some. When they left town, it says they just only said they shook the dust off their feet. You got to. If that was the only thing you was reading, you wouldn't know what's the deal about that. But you go back and that's what Jesus told them to do. That was a mark against that place. A serious mark against that place. He said it'd be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that town, that house, that city. What did God do to Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities of the plains? He utterly destroyed them. Yes, sir.
He told one lady, well, the group said, leave and don't look back.
Leave and don't look back, yes.
And one lady looked back and got turned into a pillow of salt.
That's right. But God utterly destroyed the cities of the plains. There's these archaeologists are always finding, remains of different tents. As far as I know, they hadn't found anything like that to even tell where they were. God utterly destroyed them. And everything that was in them.
It's talking about Judas. I wondered, it says here, do not acquire gold, silver, or copper for your money belts. He said he was the keeper of that. Why?
Yeah.
Why is it? Because it says here, don't worry about the money.
Yeah, don't worry about money. He said, because he said that, he says there that the workman is worthy of his support. Janice is not here now. I think it says the worker is worthy of his hire. And then that is continued on through today. That a person who is completely devoted to spending all of their time serving God, then they are worthy of financial support. It even says elders who are elders of the church, and yet they put their whole time into that they're worthy of support. I'm not campaigning for money. Don't get that started. But anyway, but it's what it says. In fact, it says that God said, "Don't muzzle the ox that's treading out the corn or the grain." If he wants to reach over and take a bite, why did he let him take a bite? What does it mean when it says, be shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves? Leland, I think that was your question, I think, wasn't it?
Be wise.
Be wise? Okay. Shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves.
Say wise and compassion.
Wise and compassion, okay.
That would probably require for a person to know the culture and what was accepted and what wasn't.
Okay.
Things like that, just basic principles of knowing how to fit into society in a way that, it's not just being wise as a serpent or a snake. It's also being innocent as a dove. In other words, Jesus knew how to manage his ministry through a lot of criticism and ridicule and all those things, but he also didn't allow that to entice him into doing something wrong either.
But you're right. A lot of different cultures, things are accepted there. Sometimes are expected there. That other cultures would think, what are you doing? Or why would you do something like that? But it's expected, or because that's the way they do things. Of course, most of us have been in this part of the world most of our lives. But you go off and go to a different part of even the United States, and get a job somewhere, and those people that, if there's any thinking to do involved in the job, they think different than Okies do.
Well, and that, when we start talking about things like that, we think about, someplace off a long distance away, like New York or California or some other real long distance away, but, you know, this applies to some degree even within, you know, a very short distance of how people have different practices. You could even use the word traditions that we haven't adhered to or put into practice, and, you know, it's, you know, learning how to navigate through that.
Yes. Sometimes the practice in itself is not wrong, it's just different than what we're used to, you know.
Exactly.
Verse 17 says, but beware of men, for they will hand you over to the courts and scourge you in their synagogues, and you will even be brought before governors and kings for my sake as a testimony to them and to the Gentiles. But when they hand you over, do not worry about how or what you are to say, for it will be given you in that hour what you are to say. For it is not you who speak, but it is the Spirit of your Father who speaks in you. Stop there. He said, when he told the disciples, when you go out, people's going to hand you over to the courts. You're going to be beaten. You're going to be tried. You're going to, you know, all different things are going to happen to you. But then he tells them something. He says, don't worry about what you're going to say. Now, anybody that's ever got up in front of a group of people and made a presentation of any kind, whether it's a small class, whether it's an auditorium full of people, you know, you got to worry about what you're going to say, you know. And am I going to offend anybody? Am I going to keep anybody interested? Are they all going to fall asleep? Are they all going to get up and walk out if I say something wrong? But here he said, don't worry about what you're going to say. It's not you that's going to do the talking, it's the Spirit in you that's going to do the talking for you. Going to tell you what to say. That'd make studying easy, wouldn't it? So, well, it's your turn to get up and make the talk, but just get up and it just automatically comes to you. Well, it doesn't happen that way today. No, but that was a special deal for them. So don't worry about what you're going to say. It'll be provided. It'll be provided. Then he goes on to say, brother will betray brother to death, and father his child, and children will rise up against parents and cause them to be put to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but it is the one who has endured to the end. Let me get this, let me read that verse again. You will be hated by all because of my name, but it is the one who has endured to the end who will be saved. What does it mean to say brother will betray brother to death? Does this happen? What is the reason that there were always poor saints in Jerusalem? Because they wasn't following the Mosaical law anymore, and they was outcast. Brother will betray brother and put them out and put to death. Because it's they're not following Moses anymore, so and that was part of the old law. You know, if someone was guilty of certain sins, by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, they drug them outside of town and throw big rocks at them, and they killed them. And so he said, brother will betray brother to death because of him. Okay, our time is up. We'll start there about verse 20.